Hello, everyone. I'm Freepod host Alan Wenzel, and I'd like to welcome you to this week's in-depth interview. Today, I'm pleased to welcome to the studio 3 guests from Highland Community College. Special note, I think this may be the first time that an outgoing Highland president, an incoming president, and the Highland board chair have all been in one place to conduct a joint interview. Joining me today is current Highland Community College President Chris Kuberski, incoming President Dr. Jamal Scott, and Chair of the Board of Trustees for Highland, Doug Block. Thank you so much, folks, for being here this morning. So before we dive into a couple of specific topics and issues related to Highland, I'd like to begin with just some overall questions about the office of the presidency. And Chris, I'm going to begin with you. You've been at Highland 11 years. You've been the president for the last 6 years. During your time here as college president, what would you consider to be your biggest accomplishment or most satisfying achievement?
So I think it should be noted that I became president in the middle of COVID. So just surviving COVID was a very important part of that presidency. But probably what I would say I'm proudest of, or I believe has the most long-term impact, is the culture work that we have done. And that culture work has really been to try to create an exceptional employee experience, which we believe then impacts and creates an exceptional student experience. And so we've seen a lot of improvements in how people interact and support each other, and in the attitudes by which they come to meetings and things like that. And so that, in my mind, has impacted everything else. And so it's really the foundation of what the other work has been built on. And so if I'm thinking about the lasting impact, I hope that is it.
And Doug, I'm wondering from a board of trustees standpoint, when you look back on Chris's tenure, what do you think will be your legacy?
You know, I could say the long answer or the short answer. I think the short answer, this past year, there were a couple of awards that the college received that I thought were very telling of the legacy of Chris Kuberski here. The financial company Smart Asset looked at over 600 colleges and ranked Highland Community College as number 1 in Illinois. And then the Aspen Award, which recognizes student success and excellence, they awarded us their award, one of 200 in the nation to apply for their grant. And I think both of these awards reflected, as Chris just mentioned, the culture that she has established here at Highland and the excellence that we have. It's hard to encapsulate her legacy in a short sentence, but Chris was the leader of the culture, I believe, that made this happen.
I'm going to switch gears just a little bit here and ask Dr. Scott, Jamal, what attracted you to this job as president of Highland Community College? You heard from Chris and Doug about some of the things that have happened in the last few years, but what was it that drew your attention to this position's opening?
Well, some of the things they just mentioned, but, Highland has had a very strong reputation, the Illinois Community College system. I was at Waubonsee Community College for 8 years, and my president actually worked closely with Chris, and they have a good relationship. So she always spoke really highly of Highland Community College, integrity, growth, the culture work. They actually became members of an association, the Alliance for Innovation and Transformation, that Waubonsee was a part of. So, Highland just has a reputation for doing things the right way. Freeport is a town that I've always heard a lot of good things about. It reminds me a lot of the town I moved from, Oswego, which is a village about an hour west of Chicago, a growing population, changing demographics. So I just see a lot of opportunity here in Freeport. And then also Galena, that's part of the district. It was named one of HGTV's best small cities in America.
Yeah.
So just the district, the district, and just the area has a really strong reputation. Those are some of the things that attracted me to the role.
So thanks to the work that's been done prior to your arriving by Chris and all the others here at the college to work on those issues that are important to not only the college itself, but to our students and to those who want to use our programs and take advantage of what this institution has to offer, preceded your interest and led to your being interested in this particular job.
Yeah. I've gotten to talk to some students since I've been here. They all seem really excited about different things going on at Highland. I look forward to helping continue to build programs and services that the students and community find value in. So there's just a lot of ripe opportunity here, I think, for the future, and to build on the legacy Chris created. I mean, speaking of the culture work, when I came for the interview, I just noticed how kind everyone was, and she talked about the employees and the students, and it's a beautiful place. And I joked that the sun was even out, and I just thought, it doesn't get much better than this. So, the culture she spoke about, you can feel when you visit the college.
Yeah. Doug, I'm wondering what attracted the board's attention to Dr. Scott to offer him the job and make sure that he was going to be our next president. What did the board see in this candidate?
Well, I think the things that stood out to us, and there were several things, but I think Jamal's experience with the junior college or the community college system, and his experience working with Wabansi, and he had all that as a base. But then when we were visiting with Jamal, his ability to communicate, his vision for the future, he spoke very, very highly of increasing enrollment here at Highland Community College and all the things that you need to do that. So when we put all these factors together, he was the natural fit for our next president.
And official duties begin July 1st, right, Jamal?
Yes.
So you're getting all set. I know this week has been one of transition for you. And I wonder, Chris, if you could talk just a little bit about how the college is orienting Jamal to the new position.
So the consultant we worked with, Spellman & Johnson, for the presidential search also gave us advice and guidance for onboarding. And so we really wanted to try to make the most of the 9-day overlap that we have. And so we've been meeting with a lot of different groups, kind of trying to set context and give some history lessons and background without tainting Jamal's view. So I think that's been very important to not bring any bias to those meetings, but just this is the group, this is who they are, and then let them introduce themselves and share with Jamal kind of their perspective, ask him questions. And so we've had a very solid calendar, but we've also, I think, started to lay a good foundation for his understanding of where Highland is, some of the challenges that Highland continues to face, and the opportunities that are in front of Highland. And so from my perspective, those meetings have gone very well. Jamal's absorbing things very quickly, and he's continuing to smile, even though we've had some intense days. But my hope is that when July 1st comes, he has a good base of understanding, and then he can build on that as he continues to meet people and ask his own questions from there.
It strikes me that this, Jamal and Chris, is somewhat of a unique situation where you have an opportunity to spend days, a couple of weeks or more, transitioning and learning from what has taken place from the current president to what's ahead. And I would think this would be just wonderful for the two of you to be able to work together like this in the transition period.
Yeah, it's really been outstanding. I mean, I get a chance to sit back and listen and learn and see Chris lead and see all the things that have helped, all the processes and meetings and structures to be successful. I think, coming in a role like this, you really want to take time to step back and to learn and to talk to people, employees and students and community members. And that's really, I think really important before you start making any decisions or forming any opinions. So this has just been a time of learning and listening. I'm so glad that I have her to help me along the way.
It's so much better than on July 1st being introduced to, here's the new president, everyone. And so, who are all of you? And I would think it'd be just a real plus for you, Jamal, to be able to come on board in that manner.
I think Ellen, our consulting firm, Spellman & Johnson, said it was unusual to have this kind of transition for a president. And it's a tremendous credit to Highland and what we have here. And I think it just is going to give Jamal a tremendous opportunity to have an understanding of where we are and where we're going. And it is an unusual situation.
Let's talk a little bit about where we are, where the college currently is on a couple of issues I know that are important to the college. And Doug and Chris, I'd like you to talk just a little bit about one of the issues I know is foremost on Highland's agenda, and that is the Athletic Learning Center. Could you tell us a little bit where that project is currently and what some of the timelines might be for key milestones in the next few months? And Chris and Doug, either one.
So in October, the board gave the green light for Highland to pursue the project. That was really the first formal vote as it related to the project. They had approved the feasibility study, but that really gave the administration the green light to continue and push forward. And so really at this point, we are still trying to align our timeline with the YMCA. As I'm sure most of the listeners know, the YMCA, through their own strategic planning process, has determined that they're going to purchase the Stewart West Center and relocate there. And they have some wonderful opportunities for growth, particularly as it relates to childcare by doing that. That then leaves the sports facility and what is currently the childcare facility open for Highland to do our additions, our remodel, and some program expansion in the space that will be repurposed for Highland by ourselves. We continue to want to partner with the Y. We know that we're going to continue to partner on the early childhood education front. And then we're also in conversations with them about how we might help them as they try to build, that they could utilize our facilities in the short term, and then what we might do together once the facilities are completely done. But that's really kind of where Highland is. So at this point, we're kind of on a pause. But the next steps, once we have those timelines aligned, will be to hire a construction manager and then actually dive into the details of the redesign and the addition of what I refer to as the field house, which will be an indoor turf area. And then the child care center will be remodeled a little bit so it houses academic programs.
I think, Ellen, when we looked back, we looked at the growth that both Highland here has. When our agreement started originally, we had 4 athletic teams. Today, we have 11 athletic teams. The YMCA did not have childcare. Today, they have childcare. I mean, both of us have expanded and grown our programs, and I think this is just a natural way for both of us to look to the future and continue the growth and the things that we can bring to the community.
So the next important step for this project will be kind of yet to be determined, what will be to hire a construction manager at some point. But that's down the road here a little bit yet. Is that right, Chris?
Yes, and once we know when the Y is actually going to vacate, and the contract lasts till 2030, but we're in discussion as to maybe accelerating that. Once we know that, then that becomes the green light for the funding process and the construction manager and all of those other things. But until we know that, we really
none of the rest of it can really fall into place.
It can't.
Right. You're right. Jamal, I wonder, as someone coming in kind of with fresh eyes and a new perspective on the whole project, I'm sure you've been learning a lot about what's gone into this development for the idea. What have been your initial reactions to this new athletic learning center?
Well, it sounds like a great opportunity to help drive enrollment, hopefully to bring more people to the area. I know one thing we've talked initially about is making sure that we continue to work with the Y. I mean, strategically, that we both want to serve the community. We don't want to be in competition with one another. So ensuring that we're just working in concert with them so that we can both have programs and services to help the community, I think is really important.
I think a good example of the cooperation is the fact that the child care component of this is so important. We need child care in this community. The Y has done a great job of supplying that. We have the child care program, or early childhood learning program. And so that kind of cooperation, I think, will do a lot, continue to do a lot for the community. And it'll be moving in some new directions with this new facility, certainly.
Yes, but our students will still be observing in the new Y facility. We've been working in conjunction with them to plan, an observation space and gathering space for the students and things like that, so that they will still be an integral part of learning and helping provide some support in the child care facility. So that's a really exciting,
great.
And it allows the Y to expand their services, but it also allows Highland to expand our footprint as far as the classroom goes. So hopefully we can have more students to fill that need that we know is local and national.
Sounds like a win-win, doesn't it, Chris?
Yes, it really is.
Let's talk about another issue that I know that's always on people's minds when they think about Highland Community College. How are you doing with enrollment and student credit hours? And let's talk a little bit about that. Where are we, and what are the plans for the future to make sure that we continue to boost, strengthen, and stabilize that enrollment and those credit hours? What's going on?
So we just saw 10th day for summer, and credit hours were up for 4% for 10th day in the summer. Head count was also up. So that makes 8 of the last 9 semesters that Highland has experienced credit hour growth. And that is really going against the national trend. And it's very exciting to see that momentum being maintained.
What do you attribute that to, Chris?
It's a combination of many things. I really believe it's an all-campus effort, but we've really focused a lot of attention on not just on our recruitment, but on our retention. So we've added success coaches and a lot of student supports so that once the students come to Highland, they're supported and they are successful and they can complete and stay. So that is a critical part of it. The other part is, I believe our marketing team has really done an excellent job of using social media and all the marketing platforms to show what Highland is about and to help students see the opportunities that exist should they come to Highland. So I think it's a combination of all those things. It truly has been an all-campus effort. And we've also focused a lot of attention on improving our facilities and our student spaces, all with the idea of student engagement being so important. So collaboratively, I believe that word is out and the students who come are having a wonderful experience, and it's best when they share their story with their friends and their family, and then that, has a ripple effect.
It's a challenging environment right now for colleges all across the country, declining student numbers, declining population numbers, and severe competition for college-minded students. And it sounds like Highland is trying to do its part and being head and shoulders above other choices that students might have.
Yes, and that really is what's driving the Athletic and Learning Center facility project. We believe that all of our facilities have had some improvements. The sports complex has been touched the least by that. So we believe that is important. And if we can attract those student athletes, many times they bring their friends with them, but they also, that's one place we can recruit outside of our district. In the Illinois Community College system, we can't recruit outside of our district unless other schools don't have our program, but we can with athletics. So that drives some of that as well. But thinking about sustainability, we know that enrollment is critical for sustainability. And so when you see the population in the district shrinking, when I came 11 years ago, we were seeing about 1,100 to 1,200 high school graduates each spring. The number now is between 700 and 800.
Wow.
And we anticipate it's going to drop another 12% by 2030. And of those students, I think it's about 32% don't choose to go to college at all. So that shrinks. And then you talk about a 65% or so market share. You see, how that population is shrinking. So Highland is obviously thinking about student athletes and attracting students with new programs, but we're also really thinking about stop-outs, students who started at community college but didn't finish. And we got a targeted campaign to reach out to them, and then thinking about how we can also offer upskill training for people that are already in the workforce. So it's certainly a multi-pronged strategy to improve enrollment, but much of it does center around that Athletic and Learning Center and the new programs, the academic programs that we can bring as well for that purpose.
Jamal, you've had a wide experience in higher education for a number of years. What have you seen from your experiences that seem to work pretty well at trying to boost or stabilize enrollment numbers for a college?
Yeah, well, Chris talked about some of them. I mean, when you look at like marketing strategies, I mean, there are different facets of that, like a paid strategy and owned strategy, media you own, like your website, and media you earn, like working with, different news outlets. So I think, having a strong paid, owned, and earned strategy is important, driving inquiries to driving interest, driving application volume. I think that's really important. I think another thing is just making sure you're in front of students, in front of the community. I mean, Chris made a good point, like 30 years ago, four-year institutions were okay waiting on community college students. Like, go to Highland, go to Wabanzi, then now
not anymore.
Not anymore, right? Yeah. Now they're all going after the same student, right? Yeah. So
from day one, they want you.
Yeah, so you really have to make sure you're driving strong value in the programs and the services. Students see the reason. Chris is absolutely right. The number one competitor to students not going to school, you think, is another school down the streets that they don't go at all, right? And people, I read a book a while ago called In Defense of American Higher Education, where the American public is losing confidence in the higher education system. So it's really important to help drive that value with new programs, new services, have them on campus, be out in the community spaces where they are. So I think that's also really important too.
Mm-hmm. Doug, I know the board is always interested and concerned about enrollment, as they should be. What's the board's perspective been on this very challenging environment right now for attracting students to attend college?
Well, I think what Chris and Jamal both spoke about, I mean, that's our path to the future. But, as the board makes their decisions, I was thinking about this the other day. Number one, I think we need to do what we're doing well. We need to do it well and continue to do it well, so we have a solid base. I think the other thing we need to do is make sure we meet the needs of the community. And I think the third thing we need to do, and it's a big responsibility for the board, is provide the facilities that we have here at Highland that make all of these things happen. I think the other issue about Highland is it's been a hidden secret, and I think our work on media and media development has certainly helped. We need to allow the community to be aware of what's happening here. Our mission hasn't changed at Highland Community College, and basically supply educational opportunities for the people of this community. And all of these things together with what we've talked about, hopefully that continues to make that happen.
And Doug, I'll stay with you here for another minute or two. You've been a member of the Board of Trustees for a long time. I want to say that respectfully, not implying that any of us are getting any older, but you've been on the board for a long time. You've seen a lot of changes in your tenure as board chair. What would you point to as maybe the one or two biggest changes you've seen in the last 20 years when it comes to Highland Community College?
I think awareness of the importance of Highland to this community. I mean, we're truly, if we look back and can imagine this community without a Highland Community College, I think there would be a huge void. Without Highland here, the opportunities for the people of this area just diminish dramatically. And as time goes on, workforce development, the involvement of Highland in that process, it's not only are we providing new opportunities for new students, we're looking at as times change, we need to develop new skills. People need to develop new skills. It's an opportunity for a restart, so to speak, for people in the area. Our associate degree in the past was really the strength of Highland, and it still is. But now we're expanding our programs, and we're looking at more and more certificate-type programs. We've expanded welding. We're looking at many other areas in that arena. So I guess to summarize, as times change, our community, Highland, has changed with that. But I think in my mind, the big issue today is our ability for workforce development and everything that we can do in that arena.
Chris, I would imagine you would agree with that. The workforce development continues to be an important topic for Highland.
Yes, it does. And while Highland remains a very strong transfer in, setting students up for transfer, we really have invested in our career tech programs that lead directly to the workforce, such as, we've expanded the welding lab and manufacturing lab recently. Both of them are at capacity already. So we see that the need is there. So there are thoughts about how do we meet that need and continue to expand the facility so it can. We also have seen our nursing programs remain very strong. I think we have a very strong group coming in for the fall. And so we've also thought about other workforce needs that might be the academic programs that we add in that new space. One of the things that we're challenged by is the fact that we don't really have any unused space on campus right now for new programs. So without building a new building, that's a challenge. But once the childcare facility is vacated, then we have kind of a blank canvas to think about what programs go in there. So that exploration is in progress. It's not been finalized. And I think, Jamal, I'm sure we'll have some, ideas about what that might be, along with the feasibility studies that are being done. But workforce development, we split the position of vice president who was overseeing both workforce development and being the dean of business, industry, and technology. And we hired a dean for that division and gave the vice president, Scott Anderson, more focus attention on workforce development for those reasons. So we've done things, with even the organizational chart to try to emphasize that and work more closely with business and industry to help them with whatever certifications or development they need for their workers, so that we really are trying to serve the needs of the community. It changes very quickly. So that's, community colleges are known to be agile, but we also have to be at the table and hear that those changes are coming to know how to adjust to meet the needs.
In recent years, we've seen a tremendous growth in our ag programs. Talk a little bit about where the ag programs fit into this scenario, workforce development and meeting needs of the community.
Yes. So obviously, ag is one of the areas that thrive in this region. Our ag program recently added a third full-time instructor because we wanted to expand the opportunities there. I know that they're thinking about some additional certificates and training opportunities, but the ag program continues to thrive. We just completed the second phase of the facility on the land lab that allows us to store the equipment there instead of in what's supposed to be the lab. And so that opens up the lab space for additional thought about maybe ag mechanics or other programs that would support the agriculture needs in the area. We attract many students to ag that didn't necessarily grow up on a farm, but see the opportunities that exist within those program areas.
And given all of that, Jamal, as incoming president, your role will be to balance the needs of the workforce development and all the programming of that with our baccalaureate transfer-oriented. And that's always been a challenge. What's the right mix and what's the right balance? And I'm sure that you're looking forward to taking on that challenge.
Definitely, and Chris and Doug talked about it, but I think making sure we've talked to the community, talked to the employers, talked to the business owners, talked to the prospective students, the families, and identifying ways in which we can help drive their social and economic mobility, I think is really important. Also, it sounds like we have a lot of strong transfer agreements, so continuing to build relationships with those four-year institutions, I think is really important. And then just having a strong understanding of what students want when they come to Highland. I know years ago, we would have students come in, they only desired to come for a year. They wanted to save money and they wanted to maybe grow socially and get some credits under their belt and then transfer out. Well, some statistics may say that's a failure if they come for 1 year and don't leave with a degree or some credential. But if we did our job and we helped that family and that student meet their needs, then we were successful. So I think just making sure we have a strong pulse of what students and families and communities need from us and meeting those needs is really important.
This is a nice transition into the next area of questions I'd like to ask the three of you. And it's really about the future, taking a look at the future and what's your vision for Highland in the next decade. But before we do that, I just have some immediate future questions. Chris, what are you going to do July 1 when you turn the reins over to Jamal? What's going to be Chris's world for a while?
So I am not going to have an alarm set on July 1. and I'm going to have ice cream sometime that day. But beyond that, my husband and I have travel plans in July, and then we will move back to the farm in August. We have a road trip planned in September to visit our son, Zach, in Idaho. But a lot of my days will be spent with our grandsons, Logan and Connor. I have quickly learned that you get a lot more love as Nana than as president.
That sounds like a great plan, Chris. Now, while you're out doing that, Chris, Jamal, what are you going to be doing for the first 100 days at Highland?
Wow. Well,
you won't be taking road trips with
No road trips. No road trips. Well, I do want to meet with all of our employees, all full-time employees. So we're in the process of getting those scheduled, meeting with superintendents and elected officials, and just getting out, and gathering as much information as possible, I think is really important. I think that's, important before you start building a strategy. Sure. Our strategic plan is going to be winding up. So, we have to do as much as we can on our end to gather research, to talk to people and have as much information that we can use before we start making decisions. So that'll be my first 100 days. A lot of listening, a lot of learning, a lot of data gathering, and building as much of a knowledge base as I can.
Well, Chris is having all the fun.
I'll be doing all the
work. A lot of work. Let me, and I know you haven't even begun officially yet, Jamal, but I'm wondering, as part of your process of getting to know Highland during the interview process and deciding to take the job, what are some of the challenges and opportunities that are ahead for Highland as you look down the road and begin your tenure on July 1st?
Yeah, well, Chris led a good meeting yesterday with our college council, and they teed up some really good opportunities for the college in the future. One, financially, just making sure we remain strong fiscally and building a good base for our district and for our college. I think the second thing, just continued student success and outcomes, so that we're recruiting students, we're retaining them, we're graduating them, they're finding jobs and having gainful employment. We've also talked a lot about communication, within the college, making sure different departments are aware of what's happening, relationship building externally. So again, meeting with school districts and business owners and community members. And then another thing that's really important, we have a couple big visits in 2028. So our Higher Learning Commission will have an accreditation visit that's really important. I've been like Chris, I've been a peer reviewer for the last 11 years. So have a good base of knowledge there that hopefully can help the college. And then our recognition process through the Illinois Community College Board and our state compliance process that makes us available for state aid and grants. That'll also be coming up. And that's a process I led at Waubonsee Community College. So I think I have some knowledge I can help in that area. So we got some big things that'll be coming up in the near future.
Lots of good work ahead, though.
That's the idea. That's the plan. Yep.
And Doug, as a board of trustees, what are you, the board, most concerned about here in the next few months? What's top of mind for the board of trustees? And I know it's hard you can't really speak officially as for the board of trustees, but what's on the mind of the board right now?
Well, I think one of the most exciting things to me is the discussion about the athletic and the learning center. Near term, I think that's a real solid base for the future of where we can go at Highland. I just think that's going to help us with our enrollment. It's going to help us with our space to create new programs. It's just a win-win. It's an area that's been talked about. It just didn't come up with a motion last October to say this is an area that we need to concentrate on. It's been on our minds for several years, and it's kind of exciting once the motion was passed, and now we're in the process. So on a near-term basis, why that's what we're looking at. And then, of course, enrollment. We're very concerned about enrollment, and enrollment is our driver here at Highland College. And so everything we can do to maintain and keep that enrollment. And Chris, of course, has been a leader in that. And when we look at 8 out of 9 semesters that we've had increased enrollment, that's just phenomenal. But that also tells our board that we're doing the right things here at Highland. So we need to do everything we can as a board to support that and continue that trend.
Final question. Each of you gets to answer. I'm going to start with Chris on this. What do you see Highland being 10 years from now? What's Highland going to look like? What will essentially be the same? What might be different? What do you see for Highland Community College in the year 2036?
So it's going to have a beautifully remodeled sports facility with a field house. It's going to have improved baseball and softball fields. It's going to have new programs. They're probably going to lean into the workforce development, whether it's healthcare or something in ag or something else like that. It's going to have more student spaces that students want to hang out in. It's going to have improved facilities, and it's also going to have energized faculty that have carried on the energy of the faculty that are here now. Highland is known to have very high quality, caring faculty, and I'm sure many of those faces will be different, but I think the energy and the passion for teaching and helping students learn will remain. So the faces may change, but I believe the spirit of Highland will remain for decades to come.
Thank you, Chris. Doug, what do you see in 2036 for Highland Community College?
I see with the things that we have that we're currently doing and the things that we're planning, Highland College in 10 years, I look at it as it's going to be an educational destination. Whether it's the arts, whether it's sports, whether it's academics, certificate, I think Highland will be a place that people in the area will look at first for anything that they would like to do in the arena of education.
Thank you, Doug. Jamal, 2036, you'll be completing your 10th year as Highland president. What do you see Highland being in 2036?
Well, they both just gave great answers. And just to add on that, I mean, I would just hope that Highland will continue to be like the top choice for learning in the community. So if you think of anything academically that you want to learn about, do you want to learn more about AI? Do you want to learn how to become a nurse? You want to get better at your job, right? Do you want to learn how to make sourdough bread or anything that you have an interest in? You'll look to Highland first as the top choice for learning in the community, that our community members are finding value in our programs and services and really think about us first before they go anywhere else when it comes to education and training. And just that we'll continue, as Chris said, to operate with integrity, have a strong spirit, and the culture. We want people when they come to Highland to feel welcomed, that they belong here, that this is a place that embraces them and helps them to grow and develop and become better versions of themselves. Two big buzzwords we hear a lot about are consideration and awareness. So we want people to be widely aware of Highland, but we also want to be strongly considered when it comes to anything that they need for their personal and professional growth and development.
Thank you, Jamal. Group, before we conclude the interview, I'd like to just ask each of you for any final thoughts you might have that you'd like to share with our listeners. And I'm going to start with Jamal.
Oh, well, thank you for the opportunity today. I'd also like to thank the board for this opportunity and for their trust in me and support of me. And I'd like to thank Chris for just leaving something great that I can step into and hopefully build. She's been really phenomenal introducing me to people and just helped me along the way. So I'm just extremely thankful to the two of them.
Thank you, Jamal. Doug, final thought?
Well, a sincere thank you to Chris for the work she's done here at Highland, and a sincere welcome to Jamal for coming and continuing that and creating his own legacy. And I would be remiss if I didn't say for my part here as being on the board that it really is. It's all here at Highland.
Good. Yes, it is. Thank you, Doug. Chris, final thought?
Well, I too would like to take a moment to say thank you. First of all, I appreciate the board in trusting me with this responsibility, and I have greatly appreciated working alongside all of the wonderful people at Highland and getting to know the students. Our students are phenomenal. The community members have been so supportive of Highland through my time here, and so I'm leaving Highland with a smile. I'm reminded of a quote that Dr. Seuss says, "Don't cry because it's over. Smile because it's happened." And I'm leaving Highland with a heartfelt smile and appreciate all the support and the friends that I've made in my time here.
What a great conversation this has been. We could probably talk for another hour and a half on all kinds of issues. But you know what? We'll pick that up at some point in the future. We'll have another conversation about what's happening in Highland. But I'd really like to thank each of you, Jamal and Doug and Chris, for your time here this morning. It's fun to talk to people who care about the college and care about the district and care about its residents. And you three clearly do that. I'd like to thank our listeners for tuning in. A listening reminder, our regular weekly podcast of the local news is available beginning every Thursday at noon, and our in-depth interviews are available on Tuesdays beginning at noon. Freepod couldn't come to you without the help of many local supporters and volunteers. We're especially appreciative for the Media Studies Department at Highland Community College for producing our podcast, as well as for our many liaisons and reporters for the time they volunteered to bring the news to you. This is Alan Wenzel on behalf of Team Freepod. Thank you for listening.